We are so excited to be here talking to Mandy with Wondermind about mental health ahead of Mental Health Awareness Month. And to start out, I would love to know kind of when you started figuring out that mental health was important for you and kind of learning more about that.
Actually, whenever I started my journey of discovering what mental condition that I had, it really, I wasn't growing up where it was talked about. So you were either crazy or you were like normal. And so I didn't have anybody to like lean into or explain to me the way that I was feeling. And so as I went through a very long journey of finding that I did have a mental health diagnosis, and then I was misdiagnosed and then had to go through that, I was blessed to have the resources to do that. So after we did 13 Reasons Why and saw the reaction and the need for that support, me and Selena were trying to really figure out what could be next. And it took a while. Like we were like, no, we were, approached with a bunch of different things, but then we're just like, there's no hub, because everybody was really seeing things out like differently and different times. It's just kind of like you'd have to have 12 apps to have a program and then remember to use them all. So that's when we decided to create a mental fitness ecosystem. So it's all encompassing, but there's something for everyone. So if someone doesn't want to be online, then they can use our inserts you can print and some of the products that we're eventually going to create. So yeah, and then some people just like to watch television, and so we'll create that content. So it just really, I think my history of not having someone be able to be there for me, and knowing that I had come across people that couldn't afford therapy and couldn't afford things, and it's like, well, we're not a medicinal company, and we do have an advisory committee that oversees everything that we do, but still we're technically not doctors, but we are for everyone. And when it comes to feelings, so everybody has feelings, and so they can go to our content hub and just kind of explore that for a while, and it'll give you tips on how to control them.
Absolutely. My friends and I were all over 13 Reasons Why in college. It was so important for opening so much dialogue. What would you recommend if there is a first step for someone who is figuring out their mental health journey, maybe for the first time? Is there anything that you would recommend to make it a little bit easier to understand, or like a first step or jumping point for someone?
I think they should write down what they're feeling each day, even if it's one sentence, and just kind of see how consistent, like a mood tracker kind of thing, but like it's something more easy where you're just, writing down your feelings for the day, what happened. Then that way, if you feel like, oh, I'm consistently sad, maybe I do need to see a doctor. Or they can go on our content hub and see, oh, I can do this to change that, and then kind of explore who they are. Because sometimes if you go into a therapy session and you're not really settled or like concrete in who you are and what may be going on, you might go through what I went through, which is being misdiagnosed. And so it's more important for you to know who you are and what you need prior to going in, so you can give that to them instead of them guessing and working around that process with you.
Yeah, and figuring out your mental health journey can sometimes feel really overwhelming. Is there anything that is kind of easy in your own routines or your own processes that just makes it a little bit easier to work with your mental health process? Like any books or journaling, you mentioned things like that.
Yes, I have many journals. So for different things, every journal has a different purpose. But oddly, like what really has helped me is my 4 a.m. routine. And if I don't have it, I'm usually really off kilter. So I get up at 4 when everyone's still asleep, and I found that time that it could be about me, and I'm not taking it away from anybody.
Absolutely.
And so that's really what helped me a lot. Be more grounded throughout the day.
And on the flip side of that, is there anything that you would recommend, whether from your own life or seeing others' experiences, avoiding when you know your mental health is struggling? Like I know when I'm feeling myself spiral, I have to avoid sad music, for example. So I didn't know if you had any recommendations.
I always avoid sad music, even when I'm not. I'm not trying to be sad. But I guess I had to answer like when you were talking. I mean, stay off social media. It's so, just put it down for a minute and like go, and it'll make a whole bunch of difference. Yeah, I mean, I can go 3 days without looking at social media, and then when I go on there, I start having anxiety, like, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't liked this person. I haven't even liked our own pictures, and like we did it for like Wondermind. So, and then I start feeling guilty. So there's just some kind of like, you feel like you have to do social media, and you really don't. You know, it's just, not everybody needs to know everything. You know, there's a beauty in privacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is that anxiety that you are mentioning kind of the signal that you need to take a break from social media, or are there many other things that kind of make you think, oh, maybe I should put this down for a little bit?
Well, if it evokes any emotion that is a negative emotion, then I just, it's not worth like being angry about. It's not worth losing sleep about. And, you know, it just feels like there's an unintentional taunting on social media. And you're like, wait a minute, is that about me? You don't know this person. And then you start running with all this stuff in your mind. So, yeah.
How do you balance like unplugging from social media and maybe news cycles sometimes when you need a break while still staying plugged in and staying informed? How do you kind of balance that in your own life?
Well, what I do is whenever like for social media, I don't really do too much of backtracking. But what I'll do is, because sometimes I won't even get on my journals, so then I backtrack and then I write in them what I remember, and if I missed a certain one. So I just don't hone in on it a lot, but I'll try to check the news and things like that for like on a daily basis. But I do that during my quiet time. So if anything evokes emotion, I'm meditating during the quiet time. So I can do that in the morning, and then my chief of staff keeps me really up to date.
Yeah. It's always good to have other people helping you out.
It is.
And talking about other people, that's a perfect segue. Mental health can feel so isolating. How do you help the people in your life find community in learning more about mental health and these mental health struggles, whether it be your friends or your daughters? If you see them struggling, kind of how do you help them or embrace that in that way?
Well, it's been a process. Like, you know, you got to build trust.
Yeah.
And also you got to build the boundary of who you like volunteer help to. You know, it's like if they don't come, you know, I'll check in on them and go, hey, are you okay? And I really wait for them to ask me. And then when they ask me, I'm like, okay, well, let's look up what you're going through, and let's find like the top like session or whatever. But I'm here for you if you want to cry. Can't fix you. I can't guide you, but I'm here for you. And that's all you can do as a friend. And then with my kids, it's like it's a process. You have to like just work with them and meet them where they're at, and then see the help that they need, and don't assume that what you went through and impose your stuff onto them. You've got to really understand them to be able to give that advice.
Do you have any recommendations for other moms or other parents who want to meet their kids where they're at in all of this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I would just like drop, let me see, like not drop hints, but kind of show that they're there for the conversation. And not all kids is, you know, there's a lot of things I know my daughters don't tell me, and that's their right. You know, they're their own little people. You know, and well, one of them's a little people, another one is older people. But yeah, the way I did it is I just kind of monitored, and then you can send them like resources and see if they'll do it. But it's so sensitive between, you know, especially teenagers and their parents. You know, they're going through that phase where they don't want to be around them, they don't want to tell them things. So it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but maybe put some, you know, fillers out there and just make sure that they know that you're there, and make it okay to have these conversations.
Yeah. And trust is such a big part of that, like you mentioned in that communication. Do you have any like trust building techniques or exercises that you have done with people that you maybe don't know as well as your daughters or closer friends?
I haven't done it with other people, but I have done it with my daughters.
I'd love to hear about
Yes. One time, it was very, very cold in California, and me and Selena were on the opposite side of the pool, and we were in sweats. And she says, "Do you trust me?" And I went, "Yeah." And she goes, "Okay, if you trust me at 3, we're gonna jump in this ice cold pool." And I go, she goes, "You don't trust me, do you?" And I was like, well, this could be a very mean prank. I don't know what you're doing. And then we jumped in at 3, and we both jumped in, and we were like, our clothes, we couldn't get out of the pool because it was so heavy. It was madness. And then, yeah, me and her had done that. And then Gracie, she's still pulling pranks, so I don't trust any of her games. There's no trust there.
It's always the cold water.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And final question, I would love to know, on kind of a lighter note, for lack of a better word, do you have any go-to little treats for days that you need a little boost, or just a little treat in the afternoon?
Like food-wise?
Anything, food, TV, anything.
What? Yes. Okay, someone's about to get a plug. I am really into watching like journals, people writing their journals on YouTube. And I have one person that anytime I'm feeling sad or like a little unmotivated, I put her on, and her name is Planning Annie, and she is so cute. You never see her face, you just see her hands at the thing. But she is like so precious, and she has like 2 older daughters, but she's just like so precious, like literally so bad. I'll say, "Do you know what Planning Annie did today?" Like it's become a relationship.
Yes.
She has no idea. She doesn't have a relationship with me.
Well, never say never. Wait, I didn't even know that was a thing. I'll have to check that out.
Oh yeah, it's a whole community. They do all the different journals, all the different setups, and yeah, that's what I do. Anytime I'm stressed, I'm like, "Stop Planning Annie," and I just put her on the back. And I've even jumped on Zooms and she's playing in the background. I'm like, "Oh crap, I gotta turn off Planning Annie."
I love that. Well, thank you so much. It was so lovely to chat with you.
Oh no, thank you.
It's awesome.